comes, folks. Almost there. 200,000 miles of ownership of this truck. 200,000 miles. What an accomplishment, at least I think it is. Yes, indeed, YouTube, it has been 200,000 miles officially since I took possession formally of this truck from the PACCAR Financial Dealership in Minooka, Illinois, back in December 2020. It is now the end of September 2022, and in the span of 22 months, I have put 200,000 miles on this truck. That is literally 103,000 more miles than I have put on any other vehicle I have either owned or driven in my entire life. So, I think it's a bit of an achievement to be able to say that. Yes, 200,000 miles on one vehicle. But of course, having done that in under 2 years illustrates just how hard this truck's been working. But some of you veteran drivers out there be like, yeah, 200,000 miles, son, I'd do that in a year and a half. Come on. Those are rookie numbers. You gotta pump those numbers up. Well, fair enough, I suppose, but in my defense, so to speak, I did take pretty much all of July off, and in the first week of August I was off as well, so I lost out on maybe, 12 or so thousand miles. I might have hit this marker a heck of a lot sooner, but, I took July off while I was changing carriers, getting my plate, my Illinois tractor plate for my truck, buying a trailer and a bunch of other stuff, and just, taking a vacation for the first time in my life, it feels like. So, I'm okay with waiting a little bit longer, so to speak, to hit this 200,000 mile marker with this truck. But while I'm thinking back on the last 200,000 miles with this truck, there's a couple of interesting little factoids about it. Just because why not? Celebrating a milestone here while I'm driving through South Dakota. Let's see. Got this truck in December 2020, so that was Christmas 2020 was this truck. And basically that was my present to myself, so to speak. Not really, but still. It was a big part of Christmas that year. See, this truck has operated for 3 carriers. Started out, I bought this truck when I was still with Werner Enterprises, which was my first carrier, of course. And then I took this truck over to GP Transco a few months later. And now I'm on my 3rd carrier, which for the time being I'm keeping private, just in case people decide to get ornery about anything I say and try to give my current carrier any guff. So, it is what it is. What else here? In terms of where this truck has gone, it's been as far east as New York City. It's been as far west as Port Angeles, Washington, which is about, half an hour, 45 minutes, no, about an hour or so, maybe 2 hours away from the Pacific Ocean, right there off the northwest corner of Washington State, south of Vancouver Island, if my geography is correct, which I hope it is, because I was only up there just about a month or so ago, a month and a half ago. It's been as far south as, I believe, it's been south of Houston. Because, I've been all along the Gulf Coast, at least in terms of Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and the panhandle of Florida. But haven't been down to Corpus Christi, haven't been down to Baja, California area. Have you been to California with this truck yet? For various reasons. It has been as far north. I think the furthest northernmost point I've been to in road trucking last winter, or this past winter more accurately, in Missouri was pretty fun. I had just put new drive tires on this truck in end of January, and that $5,000 investment paid off handsomely, I think just the following week, when I was driving in Missouri and had to, well, didn't have to, but I chose to drive over the glacier that was covering Interstate 70 after not one, but two major snowstorms on two different runs to Kansas City area on I-70, both of them 2 weeks apart. So there's just trucks scattered all over the place, on the shoulders, spun around, jackknifed, all kinds of wreckage every which way, and I'm just cruising along 30, 35 miles an hour on brand new drives. Thankfully with the light load, so I had no problem getting over that glacier. That was pretty fantastic. The most beautiful driving I've done with this truck, without question, is US Route 12 across two different segments. Firstly, when I drove from Lewiston, Idaho, up to Missoula, Montana, on a eastbound load at the end of June, before I left GP Transco, I took the scenic route. Instead of going up US 95 from Lewiston up to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, to pick up 90 to head back east, I chose to take the scenic route parallel to Clearwater and Lochsa rivers and go through those mountains, and it was unbelievably gorgeous. That is a sports car's road without question, because of all the twisting and turning and switching and whatever else, but it was still tremendous fun in a semi-truck. The second portion of US 12 that I drove on was in Washington State from Yakima, or Yakima, however you pronounce it, I still don't know. No, not Yakima. Yeah, Yakima, because I picked up 12 off of Interstate 84 over there, and then took 12. Was that right? I forget. I took 12 to Yakima. That's what it was, and I picked up 5. That's right. So I picked up 12 somewhere in eastern Washington State off of 84, and then I took that across central Washington over to Interstate 5, and then 5 got me up to the next roads that I then took over to Port Angeles. But anyway, that was just as beautiful, if not more beautiful, because instead of paralleling, the river, I was climbing around the mountains in the Wenatchee and was it Gifford Pinchot, I think it was, national forests. So I went down along, I drove past Mount Rainier, and that was fantastic. Had gorgeous views down into the valleys from where US 12 was sitting along the top of a mountain ridge. Just spectacular driving. But yeah, it's been a pretty fantastic 200,000 miles, and blessedly, this truck has not given me very many issues, mechanically speaking. Yeah, I've got the usual wear items, oil changes and the scheduled maintenance services. I've replaced the primary, the serpentine and the water pump belts, or the alternator belt, whatever it is. I did all the belts on the engine just after I got the truck, about a couple months after I got the truck, just because I have no idea. I don't know what the maintenance was on this truck beforehand. I didn't have any records of it. It's like, yeah, let's just start replacing stuff that I think is going to be a wear item, and just, settle them in for the future. And I may end up doing the belts here again in the next, probably before the year is out, just, because I'd rather have a new belt on there and spend money unnecessarily than all of a sudden miss a point of my pre-trip inspection one day, not catch a piece of wear on the belt, and then, oh, whoopsie, now your belt's broken, and great, now you have no power. But these belts are pretty hardy, so I'm not too worried about it, at least at the moment. But it's just a wear item that I think I'm going to end up looking into before too long. I've done the shocks, done all 10 tires. I've got Michelin X-Line Energies on the steers right now. They've been doing okay. I'm not really happy with how one of those tires has been wearing. I think right side steer picked up a screw shank and it went through it. So I was like, all right, well, you can't patch it, you got to replace it, which was extremely annoying. But it is what it is. That was last September, so just over a year ago. But the left steer is getting already pretty close to the replacement point, which I'm really not happy about. I really would have thought these tires would have worn a lot better. Maybe the tire I got wasn't quite as good a quality, but it's, last time I measured it, just a couple of days ago, it was sitting at about 6/32 of an inch left, while the right side steer, which I replaced a month after I got both steers done, is sitting at about 9 or 10. So I'm really not happy with how much the left steer tire has worn. My drive tires are wearing very nicely. I bought those. I put 8 Yokohama nice deep tread tires on there in January, end of January, and I have been really pleased with how they've been performing. In fairness, I haven't noticed any significant change in my fuel economy, but I do like that the deep tread, in my mind, gives me significantly greater options for grip in different terrains. Because I go into gravel roads sometimes for different shippers and receivers that need to get access to certain places. Like when I do a lot of operating in the Great Plains states, and that occasionally means I got to drive for extended periods on gravel roads and country back roads and whatnot, things that are either poorly paved or unpaved, to get to different places for different reasons. Because I do a lot of seed loads. I've got an animal feed load in right now that I'm taking to Billings, Montana, and so I've been really happy with how well these tires have performed. Now, in fairness, I don't know much about tire tread patterns and what they do for grip. I could be talking about a placebo effect for all I know, but considering that I did not lose or have any experience with loss of traction when I was driving over the frozen I-70, until I found a small piece of black ice that let my tires skip just a little bit and inspired me to stop one evening after I'd gotten off, the glacier. I'm going to say that placebo or not, the Yokohama drive tires have been doing very well, and I'm very happy with them. And when it's time for me to do the tires on the trailer, I'm probably going to put hand coops on there, because when I was in GP Transco, they put pretty much exclusively their new trailers came with hand coop tires, and those seem to run really well, wear very nicely, and I'm really curious to try them out and see what either 4 of them does on one axle or 8 of them on both axles will do over the course of a year and change. Plus, it seems like Hankook makes a really good tire, a good mid-level tire in terms of the cost versus durability and longevity. So I've seen some good reviews on Hankook tires as well for trailers, so I want to give them a shot and see how they do. Should be good. But that reminds me, though, talking about tires and wear and weights and whatnot, this is also the actually heaviest I have ever been in my entire driving career to this point, which is now 3 years and about 2 months old, which is kind of funny. It's been 3 years and 2 months since I got my CDL, and 3 years and about a month and a half since I got my first truck with Werner. Amazing how time flies. But anyway, when I got loaded up with this animal feed load in Nebraska yesterday, when I hit the scale, I did that after I fueled, so I'd have a full fuel load to set the tandems with and really get myself balanced out. When I scaled out, my gross weight was 79,940 pounds with a full fuel load. 60 pounds under the DOT maximum. This is on a CAT scale too, so at least it should be pretty much an accurate number, or at least a very much highly bankable number. 79,940 was my weight, and with the full fuel load, the way I had my tandem set, I actually scaled out overweight 57.80. So really close on all three scale points. But again, I'm not worried about it because by this point, having driven several hundred miles, 200-300 miles since I fueled, well, about 200 miles at least, give or take 250. I should have pretty much burned off enough fuel weight that my steer axle, if I was to be pulled into a DOT scale right now, I would probably scale out legal on all 3 points and it'd be fine. But it is a point of concern as I'm making this run because I'm going to have to fuel up again at some point. The question is going to be, all right, I need to fuel at the right point between open weigh stations so that before I hit the next weigh station I can burn off that weight and make sure I'm legal. Because yeah, even though my steer tires are still 16 ply, and I've heard, but I have not checked, but I've heard from a neighbor of mine who's a retired trucker that with 16 ply tires you're allowed to be overweight on your steer axle, at least because they're a higher grade, heavier duty tire. I have not independently verified this myself. I have no idea if that regulation has been changed. I literally have no idea. So I just operate under the mindset of, okay, no matter what, I need to be at 12,000 maximum, 34,000 maximum, 34,000 maximum, and not exceed 80,000 pounds. Yeah, I mean, DOT might look at your fuel gauge and say, oh yeah, you're overweight, look at your fuel gauge. All right, yeah, it's just fuel weight, go ahead and go, you're fine. Other guys might think, no, you are literally 10 pounds overweight, and I'm going to give you a ticket because you're 10 pounds overweight. So here, consume feces and expire. I mean, there's going to be some folks like that. But anyway you slice it, it's like, I'd rather avoid the problem if I can. And blessedly, both the weigh stations that I've driven past so far this morning have been closed. So it's not a concern, at least not yet. But, when I get over towards Montana, it might become a real concern. But I'll probably wait to fuel up until after I've gotten through the first weigh station area of Montana so I can dodge that problem with ease, at least in theory. But yeah, so it's been an adventure these last 200,000 miles. And I've looked at replacing this truck with something brand new, but it's impossible to order a brand new truck right now and guarantee you're going to get a build slot. And I've talked to Kenworth dealerships, I've talked to Freightliner dealerships because I've only driven those two brand of trucks, and I like both trucks a lot. This T680 has been dynamite for me these last 2 years. I mean, it's been an absolutely fantastic truck, and I really am glad that I was able to buy it because it has made me a lot of money. It has helped me learn a tremendous amount about the industry, but at the same time, now I'm sitting at 570,000 miles almost, and it's like, okay, now I'm getting closer to the overhaul point. I'm getting closer to needing to do a lot of major service items on this truck that it would cost me a lot of money, and I need to think about, is it to my advantage financially to either hold off on those items and try to trade for a new truck, or double down my investment in this truck, get it paid off, and then just try to run it until I hit 1 million miles or 750 or whatever. I mean, that's a really legitimate question to ask because this truck is still performing really well. I mean, it's getting really decent fuel economy. I mean, right now, since I'm so heavy, it's not doing very well, but I'm in the hills of South Dakota, when you're in the flat, yeah, you're going to be okay on fuel economy, but when you're up and down mountains and hills and whatnot, your fuel economy goes right down the toilet. I mean, one thing I am giving serious thought to doing is replacing the transmission. Not because it needs to be replaced, but because I'm very curious to know if I replace the Eaton Advantage automated 10-speed transmission that this truck has right now with an Eaton 12-speed automated transmission, would I get better fuel economy? I know I'd get better control and torque usage through the low end of the power curve in gears 1 through 5 without question. And it'd be really nice to have a bit of a lower end gear for first when I'm moving around yards and trying to park and whatnot. That would be really, really nice, because one problem with these Kenworths that have clutch, it feels like it gets like wound up too tight like a spring, and then it just lets go, and then it lurches you backward. That can slam you into a dock, and if you're not careful, it can slam you into another truck as well, which would really ruin your day. And I have never been a fan of that, and that was one thing I was glad to see go when I was pulled out of that Kenworth from Werner and given a Freightliner from Werner that I drove for a little over a year. Didn't have to worry about that. And part of that is because it had a 12-speed Detroit diesel or Detroit transmission. So there was a much better blend on the low-end power between gears 1 through 5. So that is something I'm considering doing, because, you know, if I really am going to keep this truck for another 100, 200,000 miles, you know, maybe I might get better fuel economy if I change the transmission out to a 12-speed. You know, a lot of things that can be done with just relatively minor-ish, though transmission really isn't minor-ish changes. You also think about the driveline. The driveline for both the main line and then the between the axles driveline is probably getting close to needing to be replaced as well. I think those only have a lifetime about, depending on how heavily they're used, somewhere between 500,000 and 750,000 miles, if I remember the nomenclature correctly. So I'm going to need to replace the driveline at some point soon as well. I mean, a lot of major wear items are coming up on this truck because of its mileage, and I have to ask myself, is this money I want to spend on this truck, or do I want to try to capitalize on its trade value like I did with my Mustangs last August? Try to capitalize on the trade value and get into something newer, or at least younger in terms of mileage, where the wear items are significantly in better shape. I mean, that's a legitimate question to ask. Or do I want to see if I can try to get myself into a brand new truck, like I've been hoping to do for the last 6 or so months,